Welcome to the Maine Real Estate Roundtable podcast. I'm Bobbie Grenier, your trusted guide to navigating the world of real estate in Maine. Get ready to debunk mortgage myths, unravel real estate mysteries, and learn tips to avoid costly mistakes. Whether you're an industry pro, an overwhelmed buyer, confused seller, or simply curious about life in Maine, this is the podcast for you. Hey friends, you have found the Maine Real Estate Roundtable podcast. I'm your host, Bobbie Grenier. For those of you that are regular listeners to the podcast, welcome back. And as always, I thank you for your continued support. And for those of you that are new to the podcast, welcome, welcome. I appreciate you checking us out. So today's episode is a great conversation that I had with Chelcie Shappy. And Chelcie has been on the podcast before. We did an episode on the power of real estate photography. But Chelcie's not only a real estate agent, she is the founder of Marke Maine Marketing and Photography Solutions. So Chelcie joined us and talked to us today about personal branding, what it is, why it's so important, and she gives some great tactics and strategies that we all can implement today to elevate our personal branding game. So sit back, grab a cup of coffee, and enjoy this conversation I had with the awesome Chelcie Shappy. Good morning, Chelcie.
Good morning.
Hey, welcome back. You, as we were just talking, are one of my first repeat people on the podcast. So I appreciate you agreeing to come on again.
Yeah, I'm so honored. Thank you for inviting me.
Of course, of course. So you were on the podcast before, but just for those that actually didn't catch that episode, can you reintroduce yourself?
Absolutely. My name's Chelcie Shappy. I am a licensed real estate agent here in the Bangor area for about the last 8 years. And I also own a small marketing company called Marke Maine, where I help service providers and small businesses elevate their marketing in a small local community and how to outreach to people locally and beyond local.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah. So I've been noticing that you have been sort of picking things up with Marke Maine, really focusing on that. So can you tell me what's going on? What's new with Marke Maine now?
Yeah. So when I started Marke Maine, I started back in 2020 because that was a great time to start a business. I started with the thought of working with small businesses. The Marke Maine, it's MAIN, so Marketing Main Street was kind of where I came up with that, to help your small businesses with how they present themselves online, and in print and other marketing aspects, but basically how to take the image of what they're selling, whether it be a product or a service, and be able to use photography to convey that to your potential customers who are searching for you online, social media, how we all look for people when we're about to purchase something. So it started with kind of photography, slowly but carefully going into videography. I'm not a great tech person, so I'm doing it slowly but surely, where video is kind of where everything is headed. And so I have been really kind of focusing. I've had a few clients lately that I've been working with that have kind of broadened that business. And so I have been given that some extra attention lately.
That's great. And this isn't really on topic, but one thing I did want to point out is that you are going into some wedding photography.
Oh boy.
Uh,
It's not
hats
fun.
hats off to you, my darling, because we've talked about it before. I'm a hobbyist photographer and I haven't moved into the professional, but I've been doing it for a lot of years. I've done a lot of headshots for people. I this kind of started doing senior portraits for kids that maybe otherwise wouldn't be able to afford to have a photographer do their senior portraits. And I've done a few weddings and I don't like it. I don't like it because it's so much pressure. And I did one wedding that it was in June in Maine. It was outside in this beautiful country Grange Hall setting. I scouted out some great spots outside, and I'm a natural light photographer. I'm trying to
Yes.
get into some flash photography, but I'm mostly a natural light photographer.
Yep.
So we get outside, the black flies are so bad. They're so bad. They're flying up the bride's nose or in her veil. So we did what we could, but we had to go right back inside. And I was not able to deliver what I had envisioned and what I think she wanted. And she was real, I didn't oversell myself as far as being a wedding photographer, but that was kind of the experience that I was like, done. Done. So, I commend you for stepping into that arena because I don't think people realize, the pressure on a wedding photographer and just all of the different aspects of it.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those things that I've found personally, when you start doing photography, for whatever it is that you're doing, mine was, business and product photography. You get the person that says, "Oh my word, these pictures came out so good. Will you do my niece's wedding?" And that's exactly how it happened. I had zero, was not looking for weddings. And then you do one and someone sees it and, "Oh, will you do our wedding?" So I went from one, I'm just doing this as a favor, the pictures could be terrible. I'm just putting it out there, to I've booked 6 for this year. So I only do elopements, so I only do small ceremony and elopements, but I just did my first one that was like real from start to finish, where there was, a first look and a ceremony and photos after that, and then a full reception. And I'm like, oof. I don't know
Yeah,
how many of these I can handle. So
it is a
I
lot,
applaud
and
people who do it.
yeah.
Huge hats off to them. Yeah.
Yeah, and the do it and do it well. So I
Yeah.
think that that's something I've gracefully just backed out of and said you really need to invest in a professional photographer. And but elopements and that sort of thing, I can see that being okay. I've done a lot of like couples shoots, and I'd even do engagement. But when it comes to the wedding, the black fly wedding did it in for me. I
Oh
will
yeah.
never do that again. Today's topic, I really wanted to talk more on personal branding. So, the episode we did before, we talked a lot about real estate photography and how that helps a seller bring in more money for their property, all of that. But I want you to sort of put on your Market Maine hat and help us out with some personal branding. Maybe just start out with why you think it's important.
Well, personal branding is really important in the service industry, because you are hiring that person. You are a service provider. You are an expert in your field, hopefully, or working towards being an expert in your field. And so it's so important in an industry where, let's just use real estate on the real estate podcast.
Absolutely.
There's so many of us. There are so many real estate agents. And how do you choose? How do you choose a real estate agent? So you're the expert in your field. You know real estate, you know how buyers work, you know how sellers work, you know that you're an associate broker, you know that you're also a realtor, you know all these things about real estate, and you are going to assist someone throughout the process, right? So if you think about something that, um, I'm a DIYer. If I can do it myself, I will do it myself. It might not be great, but I will try and do it myself. But there are some things that I absolutely will not do myself. Like, if my car's making a noise, guess what? I'm hiring a service provider because I know nothing about cars. So in that respect, my car's making a noise. What do I do? First, I panic, you know, and then how do I choose a garage? Do I go by, I have a friend who says this garage is great. Is it a review that I'm using to pick this garage? Is it, I know someone who's a mechanic that I know and trust, and I want to work with them because I know them personally because they're my friend's second cousin too? Or do I go online and I research reviews? Do I go to the dealership because I know that's where I bought the car and I'm willing to pay a little more because I know that they're, the ones I got it from. There's so many options that you have, and it's the same thing for real estate agents. I guarantee you, if you stopped a person on the street and said, "Do you know a real estate agent?" I guarantee you they can name at least 2, right? So personal branding is so important because when people are shopping for something they don't know how to do, I'm about to sell my house and I have no idea how to do that. I've never sold a house before. This is a major, investment. Buying it was hard. I said I'd never sell it. And now here I am 5 years later and I'm going to sell it and I'm terrified. What do I do? They're going to be shopping for you just like I'm shopping for a mechanic. I'm scared. I don't know what I'm doing. And I want someone who knows what they're doing. And I want someone that I can trust is going to help me through the process. So personal branding is huge in the respect of why choose you? You tell me. It's going to be different for all of us.
Well, I think we use the term personal branding. Can you just give us a quick description of what you see as personal branding, throughout social media, digital? What actually is a good definition of personal branding?
That's a good question. Definition wise, I think it really depends on the person. So, there are so many different facets to it. There is, your online presence, whether it be your website, whether it be social media, whether it be YouTube. There's many different facets to that, and I think choosing what's right for you is going to be determining what you're most comfortable with. So when you're talking about personal branding, I think you first think of your face, a headshot, right? You're thinking, I've got to show who I am and what I do. How do you do that? Is that just an image? Is that a video? Is that probably you want a little more than like a text description, but I've seen that. I've seen some people try and sell as a service provider and you have no idea who they are, what they look like. They're incognito, you just don't know. So if that's kind of where you're at, it's really dependent on the person, and kind of what you're looking to convey and how you're looking to convey it. I know we're thinking in real estate, realtors, we tend to be a little vain. We like to have our faces everywhere, which is good for us because we want people to see us and know who we are. Other industries might be a little different. But in the case of being a real estate agent, I think it's really important to at least start with, getting your face out there. Once you've got your face out there, what are your core values? Why are you the expert that you want to be chosen for the job of being a buyer's agent or being a listing agent? And how can you bring people to you and have them feel comfortable is what you're going to be looking at for personal branding.
I have experience in marketing. I've done marketing for Trilogy for a long time, and I still get overwhelmed by the aspect of marketing and what's enough and what's too much.
Yeah. Yeah. So I've always been a big advocate of, a lot of times a small business would reach out to me and they would say, we're just having a hard time getting new customers and this is what we're doing so far. And what I like to do first is I go and I say, okay, don't tell me anything about, about what you're doing. Just tell me what you do first off as a service provider or a product seller, whatever it is you're doing. And I go in as a consumer and I try and find you. I go into Google and, if you are selling, let's say essential oils, I don't know why I picked that, but let's just say you're selling essential oils, and you're local. How do I find you? When I type in essential oils on Google, do you pop up? Do you have a Google business page? Do you have a specific name like Sally Sue's Essential Oils? If I'm just looking to purchase essential oils, I'm not going to know who Sally Sue is. So how do I find you first? So I find you if I can, and let people know, okay, this is what you need to do to make yourself found. And then I go through your website. And I go through all of your pages. I go through all the information. I see what's working well, what's easy to find, what's not easy to find. And then you see that you have at the bottom, everybody has their little social media. Go find us on Instagram, find us on Facebook. And you see that they have 8 different profiles. They've got LinkedIn, they've got Facebook, they've got Instagram, they've got TikTok, they've got, YouTube, they've got all these things. And you go and look at these sites and they might have a post from 2019 on one, and they might have, in 1 month on Facebook, they did 10 posts, but then they didn't do anything for 6 months. And then you go to one link and, error not found. So what I try and tell people is when you're a small business, you've got to be consistent. with your marketing. So when you're a small business owner or service provider, you're already doing everything. You're doing your finances, you're doing your client research, you're doing all of these things at once, and adding marketing on top can be really cumbersome. So I always advise people that if you can only dedicate an hour a week to your marketing, you need to scale back. Don't have all of these different things that you're trying to keep up with that you're so overwhelmed you don't. If you like Facebook and you use Facebook and it fits your target audience, which we'll talk about down the road here, if it fits within your values and your target audience, and you know that you can dedicate, okay, once a week I'm going to sit down, or once a month. You can do scheduling on a lot of accounts. I'm going to dedicate that to making sure that I'm consistent. So when people are trying to find me, it doesn't look like I disappeared off the face of the planet 3 years ago and I don't exist anymore.
That is my challenge. I'm like heavy on Facebook because I don't know, I'm of that Facebook age, I
Ah,
guess.
mhm.
And it works well for me, but I it's not lost on me the importance of Instagram, of YouTube and LinkedIn. And I kind of was getting into all of that. Oh, there's TikTok, and do I have to do that? Do I need to learn some dances? What's happening? And then it's like, no, that's not that's not who you are. I'm kidding. I wasn't going to dance on TikTok. My kids would kill me. But, it is very overwhelming. And to that's the perfect answer. To scale back to what you can manage consistently is the key. And I'm still working on that and struggling with that. Just kind of shifting gears. You talked about people that just have a text description of themselves. If you're not doing some visual stuff, you're really missing the mark. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, you're gonna get left behind, unfortunately. Even if you've got, your headshot front and center, and you've got a good description, and you're making posts that are, photo or text. Unfortunately, video is where everything is headed. And I know that's not conducive for all businesses. It's just not. However, you can't ignore it. And I wrote down a stat here that I was really surprised at. It came from Statista, which I don't know how reputable that is. However, in looking through the research, I that's the one that seemed to be closest to what I was thinking. But companies are spending in 2024, it's projected $92 billion will be spent on video production to market businesses. That's crazy to me, but it makes sense because I'm a 90s kid, kind of grew up with the internet, being a new thing. And I find myself now, when I go to buy something, I look for a video. I look for a video, whether it be from the company that's selling the product or whether it be from someone who's purchased it, because I'm a little hesitant. There's so many things, so many products online that we can buy, and services. I want to make sure that first off, I'm using it, I'm not getting ripped off, that this is a real company and a real product that they're selling, because there's a lot of spam out there. And what did the people think of it? Was the quality good? We don't get to shop in person anymore. We don't get to go to the store and say, "Oh, I really like the, feeling of this blanket that I really want." It's online. And so video is a great way to convey that because it's raw and it's real. And unfortunately, Photoshop can do wonders. And I know that there's a lot of video editing as well, but it's just something that consumers are being pushed towards across a wide demographic. Age wise, it's really targeting kind of all the generations that are consumers at this point.
I think that's a great point. When you say look at it from what you're looking for, I don't know as we always, when we're trying to market ourselves, take a step back and step on the other side of the, computer, tablet, phone, whatever, and think, oh, what am I attracted to? What do I look for? And I agree with you. Video is definitely where it is now, and short videos. People, it has to be fast. It has to be fast. It has to be a short on YouTube. And they might investigate a longer video at that point, but just to grab their attention, I don't know if it's good or bad, but it's where we're at.
Yeah. It is. It's where the industry is headed. And I'm not saying, like I had mentioned before, it's not for every single business. I'm going to use, Frost Septic as an example. They're probably not going to be making short videos of what they do on a daily basis. I love them. They're a great company. They're a local company. That's probably not the way that they're going to go. It's not the way that I would advise if I was working with them to go. But if you're a service provider, if you're, anything that you can show what you're doing in a day to get consumers to be comfortable. We watch every dollar that's spent. It's a tight economy right now. And so before I spend money, I want to make sure that it's on something that it feel comfortable and that I trust is going to be something that I'm going to want when I purchase.
Well, I'm finding too, though, that even though no, you might not take a video of somebody pumping a septic, they might do a video of things not to put into your septic or ways to maintain or how often you should have it done. So
That is
there's
true.
still an avenue. There's still an avenue to do it.
Yes. To be
If
creative.
you got to get creative, and that's it exactly. So you have a small professional marketing company, and I kind of teeter between I don't want people to be discouraged with taking photos and doing videos and getting out there, but quality does matter. It does matter. I think that our iPhones do a great job, but you clearly can see the difference between, a video that was shot by maybe a more professional videographer as opposed to setting up your phone. And I've done both. There's a place for both. So, what's your argument for those more professional videos and photographs?
Yeah, for photographs, for sure, you can tell there's a difference between you going like this,
Mm-hmm.
someone standing in front of you,
Right.
having lighting. Not necessarily, I'm a natural light photographer as well, so not necessarily lighting, but
Right.
having you be able to position you and get the best angles for you and having them professionally done. We haven't matched the photography yet when it comes to our cell phones. Video through cell phones is really is impressive. I'm gonna say, it's like if you have one of those new fancy phones, some of them it's like, wow, this is amazing. But again, it comes down to the if you're trying to do it all yourself, how difficult is that going to be? Are you going to buy the tripod and set it up? Are you going to, take the time to do all of that? Some people are, and they're going to do wonderful. Other people are like, I don't even know what I'm doing. And that comes back to who am I going to find to help me? Why do I want to pick this person? Which comes back to self branding.
I agree with that because that's the first impression. So if you have professional photos, that instantly has in someone's mind, they are a professional.
Yes.
They are a professional. They've, invested in how they put themselves out. And they might not think that deeply, but if, it's a picture taken with a cell phone that, is their headshot, then that's their first sign that this person cares, they're a professional, they're in it. And I think that talking about, like, if you're doing vlogging, that sort of it's how you put it out there. So if it's like, hey, I'm going live, I'm at this open house, and you've got your cell phone camera around, you wouldn't expect anything different. But
Right.
if you're, giving maybe a video of instruction or tips or, something like that, to have something a little more polished, I think definitely works better.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, can you talk to us, give us some tips on how people can effectively leverage social media? Because a lot of people are on social media, but are they getting their point across? Are they really marketing, or are they just taking up space?
Yeah, so social media has really it's advanced. I mean, it's only been around for a short period of time, and we've gotten to the point now where it's really hard to stand out on social media. There is so much money being pumped into advertisements from everything, from all big companies, medium-sized companies, people that are really investing in social media, that it's become a place of constant advertisement. And the more competition, the less easily you're going to be found. So with social media, we can't ignore it. We can't pretend it doesn't exist, because a lot of people are using, it used to be, let's just use Facebook. You had a Facebook profile to see what your friends and family and, people that you want to keep track of, seeing what they were up to, what they were doing, what, their family's growing, this and that. From the original kind of prospect of that being what it was for, has now completely turned to advertisements. You probably flip through 10 to 15 ads before you see, your cousin's, kid walking for the first time. It's just the way it's gone. So with more competition, the more difficult it is. However, it's also being used as a search engine, like Google. I'm going to go and see if you're on Google first. That's just my preference. I'm going to go into Google and type, what I'm looking for. And if you do pop up there, that's great. We're going to find you there. But if you don't have a website, I'm going to go look for you on social media. Even if you do have a website, I'm probably going to find you on social media to see what's your engagement. How often are you posting? What are you posting about? Is there a video or a post that could help answer a question I have that I'm not quite ready to reach out to you and ask, but I'd kind of like to know more before I choose you? So I would say the more you have, the more consistent you are on social media, the better chances are that people are looking. People are always consuming. We all want to buy things. We all are looking to purchase products and services all the time. It's the whole reason we get up and go to work every morning, is so we can make money and buy stuff. So people are looking for you, but what you're putting out there is going to determine whether they're going to pick you or not.
I have found that there are some, and I'm going back to real estate agents. There are some real estate agents that have hit the sweet spot and beautifully married their personal social media with their business social media. And then there are others that don't, be it ranting and raving about something that maybe, isn't appropriate for social media, or oversharing, that type of thing. So I appreciate those that have been able to do that. It comes across authentic and not braggy or boastful, but showing them for real, authentic, living their life. So you know what I'm talking about, Chelcie. You know what I'm talking about. What are your thoughts?
It's scary, right? Yeah, we don't talk about politics on and on our social medias. No, it's a true thing. At what level do you mix, right? And you want to definitely mix in personal a little bit, because when I'm shopping for that mechanic, I want to know that they're a real person. I want to know that they're a human being. I'm probably going to go as far too, and I know I'm not the only one. If I'm looking you up on your website, your social media, I find the professional side of you, but I'm probably going to go as far as to type your name into Facebook and see, who you are, and see a picture of your family, and know that you're a real person. And I want to connect with you and see if you're the best choice for me. So I think it's really important to, yes, we're professionals. We want to put our value forward. What value do I offer to the consumer? But you also need to marry in a little bit of who you are. Now, with that being said, when you marry who you are with your business, you have to be real careful. There's a real fine line, but you also have to be willing to accept that you're not going to be everybody's cup of tea, just like everybody that you work with as a real estate agent is not necessarily your cup of tea. So you just gotta know that you've got to put it in there as, you know what, I might lose a person's interest, but that's okay, because it might not be the person that I'm targeting.
So it seems to me like an obvious solution to that would be, if you feel strongly about sharing your maybe political views, or maybe something else that others could find controversial, have a personal Facebook that is private. Just have your friends, and then have your professional Facebook where you share what you want to, but you can still reserve sharing maybe some more personal thoughts or controversial thoughts on your own private Facebook. What do you think?
Yeah, so we're all humans. We're all going to want to do that, right? And I think that's a great idea. If you have something that's private, that is just for friends only and you're not really searchable, make sure, there are a lot of options on all of the social media places that you can hide, you can be incognito. That's great if that's your thing. I'm always a person that was told growing up is whatever you write and you put out there to people, you better be okay with everybody in the world seeing it, even if it's private. So just be mindful of that. I feel like talking is a great way to get out your frustrations that might not be widely seen, but we are in a world that everything is online and everything is available. So you don't necessarily have to give it up. You just have to be careful, and you don't also want to mask who you are so much to the point that you're fake. You're not real to people, or you're different in person than what you kind of perceive. And that's the whole thing about personal branding is you are a person. You're going to be hired to do a job that you feel that you're an expert at, and hopefully providing that service. So you've got to give a little bit of grace to yourself and forgiveness that you're going to be who you're going to be. People might not like you, they might really like you, but you want to work with people that you want to work with. And that's kind of what you want to put out there is, how can I attract the person that I want to work with? Which brings another point, is that target audience. I know we're talking about personal branding here, but your target audience is going to help narrow down what you want to put out there. So with that, what I try and do with clients is have them say, okay, if you could build a person that's standing in this room right now that is the perfect client, absolutely perfect client, what do they look like? Who are they? Where do they shop? What car do they drive? What house do they own or want to own? Think of all of those aspects of the perfect client that you would be like, if I got to work with this person, it would be amazing. I would be so excited to work for this person. Maybe their budget's $1 million for a house. That might be the person that you want to go after. Maybe it's a person, a first time home buyer family that's just starting out, and you love the idea of being a part of that experience. It doesn't always have to be, monetarily. But think about the perfect client that you would want to work with, and then think of how that client consumes. What are they on? Is your ideal client that first time home buyer who might be in their early 30s? Who are they using Facebook? Are they primarily using Instagram? Well, I prefer Facebook because I'm a little bit older, but my target audience might not be. And that's where you kind of have to weigh out, this is what I like, but this is what my consumer is looking for. And then try and marry those things together with your personality. So you just have to do everything all at once, and then you'll be fine.
That that's such a great point because it goes back to, and if you do any research, and when I was researching, putting a podcast together, it was, who do you want to talk to? Have an avatar of, it doesn't have to be the exact person because you might want to reach a range of people, but sort of that general avatar, and talk to them. And if you keep it about the message you want to get out and the value of the information, that you want to put out, you keep it about them. If that's your sole focus, and then injecting your own personality and yourself into it is secondary. I think that's sort of the winning theme.
Absolutely.
There's been a lot of talk around this, new NAR settlement,
Yes.
and
Yes.
um, without stepping in it like I tend to do, I do want to bring it into this topic because I think it's important. I
Yeah.
think one
Super.
thing, many things are going to come out of the settlement. I'm not going to go into that, but a couple of things that are going to come out of this, in my opinion, is that real estate agents are going to have to do more to market and to sell themselves and to present to clients the value that they give for what that client is going to be paying them to help them with their real estate transaction.
Absolutely. So, the settlement, let's just call it the settlement. That sounds,
Okay.
nice, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
So with the settlement, so you've got everybody's scared. Let me just start with that. I feel like there's a lot of fear, there's a lot of unknown. When something's been the same for so long, change is inevitably going to bring up feelings of confusion and what am I going to do? And things are going to change. How am I going to do this? Which is super normal. It's normal. It happens when there's a big change. So you can either look at it as a negative of, oh no, what am I going to do? Or you can embrace it and think, what an amazing opportunity right now in time that things have changed a little bit from the way it was done before. There is new awareness to kind of a new way of doing it. And I'm not saying agents haven't been doing it this way for a long time. We're kind of lucky here in the state of Maine that we had some things in place, so we're not seeing major changes, but there is a change in the atmosphere. And so, what an amazing time to take the opportunity to, like you said, show your value. How do I show my value? Sit down and take a look at yourself and say, why would I hire me? And how do I, once you have that list, how do I show that to the consumer of the value that I bring? I may be an agent for 30 years, and now there's this big change. How am I going to embrace this and be part of it and continue on in my journey of being an agent? And we're just talking about real estate here. Obviously, this isn't across the board for all industries. But how do you do that? And so I think this is a great opportunity for everybody to sit down, take 3 hours of your day when you don't have a lot going on, sit down and start to think, what do I want myself to look like? Why do I want someone to choose me? Do I want them to choose me because I am sticking with what I've done and I'm going to continue to advise the way I've advised people in the past? And I think that this is the best way, and here's why. Or are you going to take the option of, hey, we're in the Wild West right now. Things are not as black and white as they might have been 6 months ago. And so these are some options that may not have been thought of before that are now presenting themselves. And this is why I think you should do it this way. And how do you convey that to turn it into clients? It goes to that personal branding. How are you going to sell yourself? Is it going to be through video? Is it going to be through reaching out to people the old-fashioned way? Is it sending a letter? Is it networking? Not necessarily within your industry, but networking in other groups to get the message out there. I don't know how many times I've been out and about and someone said, what's this whole NAR thing? And that's your opportunity. It's a great opportunity to explain what's happening to the best of your abilities, because I think none of us really know exactly what's happening, but we have a good idea. Explain what it is, explain why it's happening, and explain your view of it. Explain what you think about it, how you plan to navigate it, and people will listen. They're going to be interested by this, and they're going to think of you when they hear of someone that says, oh, hey, I was thinking about listing my house, but I don't know, I've heard all this stuff on the news and blah, blah, blah. I just had a conversation with so-and-so the other day and they were telling me all about it. It's going to get the knowledge out there and it's going to change the narrative as long as we have a positive mindset and we're not going, oh my word, da, da, da. Take the opportunity to be positive, give your stance on it, your position, and people are either going to like it or they're not. But I promise you, you're still going to get business, as long as you're explaining it to people and taking that time.
I agree with that. And I think that for the people that are like, I'm not going on social media, I'm not putting on a dog and pony show so that people will hire me. And I think they're missing the point that that we're trying to make here is you don't have to put on a dog and pony show. You can go on and very collectively and professionally put out your value proposition as to why they may want to work with you, why they should work with you. And it is going to take more effort, but you're going to be competing with people that are embracing this and going to do that.
Absolutely. You really are. And that's the thing. And I don't want to say that, yes, social media is very important. if someone doesn't have social media, I don't want to say that you're never going to succeed. You know what I mean? That's not necessarily. Be creative though. Being creative in how you are looking for clients and how you are presenting yourself on a daily basis. That is so important. It's so important. And so I would say save the locker room talk for the other agents that you're talking to. And when you're out in the field and you're talking to people who might be shopping for your services, be positive about it. Tell them exactly, what you want, and it's going to be the people you want to work with that are going to be attracted to your viewpoint.
I think it's so refreshing the way that you're approaching it, because you and I have both heard every aspect of it, and I get it. Like you said, it's scary. It's a change. A big change in the industry overall. And Maine is in better shape than some states. But to approach it in a positive manner and to accept the challenge that you have to do it a little differently now
Yeah.
between marketing yourself. And it can be, you're right, it doesn't have to be social media. It can be more of a grassroots approach, that talking in groups, going to, I don't know, Kiwanis, to Rotary clubs, to, business networking groups, all of that, making phone calls, upping your listing presentation when you go to meet with a potential client, or upping your presentation for buyers as to what you bring to the table. So
Yeah.
I hope that other agents will follow in your footsteps, because I want everyone to succeed. I want everyone to do well, and it's here. No matter where you land on this particular topic, it's here. It has to be dealt with, and not everybody's going to deal with it the same, and that's okay. But the thing that makes me a little sad about it all is, I've always thought it was special that in our area we have such a close knit group of professionals, real estate agents, title companies, loan officers, lenders, all of that. And to see any angst or any bad feelings amongst this group, it genuinely makes me sad. I guess I'll just throw that little personal note in, that it genuinely makes me sad. I know at the end of the day, it's all going to work out. Everybody's going to be fine. And a year from now, like you said, we're going to be going, okay, that was rough. That was rough, but we got through it. We got through it. So I appreciate you speaking out and giving me your point of view on that. So jumping back into making yourself stand out. I said earlier, a lot of agents and people don't want to have to put on this crazy, dog and pony show. They don't want to be like the, crazy Fred that's selling mattresses and just really, you can picture the commercial now, right? Right. He's hollering, he's got a crown on his head or something.
Yeah.
But so how how do you balance standing out and being yourself, in if you're more of a low key person? I'm more of a low key person, so to get on there and, just really act out of character for myself is not natural, and it would come across as being not natural. So can you give a few examples of ways people can stand out as an individual, show some personality, but still not feel forced to be a way that they wouldn't be normally?
Yeah. So I think the biggest advice I can give for the low key, I'm a low key person as well. I'll get in front of a camera. I don't love it. Like most people, right? But the best thing I can say is be creative. Be super creative with it. I think I'm going to say as realtors, are maybe have fallen into a place of, this is what I do. You know what I mean? And you just keep going along. This is a great time to look at, how can I stand out? What is something that someone else isn't doing that I could do to help bring some people to me? And I think a really good way of doing that is research. I'm working with a numerologist right now. Do you know what a numerologist is,
Oh,
Bobbie?
I've heard the term, but no, I really don't, I guess.
So not only does she have the challenge of being a numerologist and having a business, nobody knows what the heck it is. So how do you get that out there? How do you convey something that you know what it is? Most people know what a real estate agent is, right? We can say that's pretty fair. So she's got a really uphill battle. So what we did to start is when I'm online and I'm a TikToker, I've adapted the TikTok. I love the short videos. I love watching them. I'm
Mhm.
not really great at making them, but I love watching them. What is it that I see if I type in numerology? Who comes up? Let me tell you, there's like one guy out there that comes up and he does these short videos. And I'll have to give you a little definition of numerology. So numerology is the study of numbers, and it comes down to like your birth date. So the day you were born, your name that you were given at birth. Basically, what they do is there's numbers associated with letters and they add up your birthday, and you come up with these calculations that will give you insight on traits that you may have, to kind of help assess where you're at in life, what you might be going through, feelings you might have. It gets into astrology. So it's really a cool thing, but a lot of people are like, I don't know what this is. So what this guy has done, this one guy that's out there, is he goes out on the street and a person walks by and he says, hey, what's your birth date? And they'll tell him the birth date and he'll do his little calculation and he'll say, oh, you're a 3. You really enjoy having fun. You might have a really hard time being grounded. You probably enjoy doing this, da 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 da. And he kind of tells them, and I gotta tell you, at least on the TikToks, he's always right, and the person is always completely stunned by how could you know this just from my birth date and my name. But he has over 1 million followers because of this. So in talking to this numerologist, she says, I don't want to do what he does. I don't want to be him. I said, no, I don't want you to be him either. But what can we do creatively to have it be something like that grabs people's intrigue? Because first off, you want to see if they're right? Like, is he right when he's talking to this person on the street? Can you see in their face that it's resonating with them? How do you get that effect in what you do and what you're putting out there? So we've worked on some, I won't put it out there yet because it hasn't started, but we've worked on some really creative ways to kind of mimic what someone else in the industry is doing, but putting your own personal touches to it and trying to make it exciting. So when I'm looking through these videos, what brings my attention to it? It's that factor of, is he right? Is he wrong? Is that person going to resonate? So for that industry, how do you create that but not do the same thing? And so we found some really exciting ways that I think people are really going to enjoy, that will help bring some light to, maybe they don't necessarily get what this person does as a whole, and what their product and service is as a whole. But if you get that little bit of a taste of what it could be, it's going to bring you to want to research more. Like, what is this? I haven't seen this before. What is this numerology thing? And you might do some research on it and find what it is and find that this is something that you would be really interested in. So that's the moral of that really long story was, look at what other people are doing in your industry. Take a look at what grabs your attention, what makes you interested in what this person's doing, and how can you do something like that? Not the same. We don't want to all be copycats because that's not going to help anybody. But what can I do creatively to do something like it, but not do it all the way that I can also bring some people's attention to what I'm providing and what service I'm giving to people.
I love that. And I don't think that people, and I know for myself, I don't I don't think people think about the planning that goes in to your branding and your marketing. Because I know the importance of it and I still be like, oh, I better put something up on Facebook. Rats, I didn't put it on
A holiday.
LinkedIn.
It's a
You
holiday.
know,
I can do a holiday post. That'll
right,
get you
right.
through.
It's 5 o'clock on Thanksgiving, and I didn't do anything. And
Oh
social
no.
media, social media makes it very easy to schedule those posts. So getting better, but having some type of content calendar, um, and mixing up your posts, because there are people that are 100%, Canva every single post, and I use Canva as well, but you have to mix that up with some video, with some information, with, a little bit of personality. So it is a challenge, but I think that planning piece of it goes unnoticed.
Yeah. And that I love Canva. I'm on Canva all the time as well, but you're absolutely right. Everybody else is on Canva now too. And you've got to set yourself apart. You've got to be creative. Scheduling is great. For my clients, I recommend either the end of the month or the first of the month, you sit down and you make a plan for the month. What is it that I want to do? What do I want to convey to clients? Did I have an experience with a client in the past month that really gave me an aha moment? Like, oh my gosh, that person had no idea that I do this as part of my services. And it's like my number one service that I want to do. How do I push that? So I really recommend you got to take a little bit of time. It's best if you just schedule it on a monthly basis or a weekly basis, whatever it is that would make things easier on you. And you got to, that consistency is key because you can throw money at it. You can throw money into Facebook. You can throw money to Instagram, into any of them. You can put it out there. But if you're not consistent on it, it's not going to do you any good. You know, the person who has more money is going to be seen more if that's the goal of it. So really you've got to be unique. You've got to have something that stands out that is on the more organic side in order to turn that into people wanting to find you, wanting to watch you, wanting to follow you, of course, if it comes to video. But yeah, it's all about that uniqueness, and consistency is key.
I think I think that's so right because and whatever you promise or represent, you have to deliver. I put a podcast out every Wednesday. I have to deliver that. Like if I don't, I feel like I'm letting people down. You have to almost look at it as a responsibility. Now, Facebook or social media posts, you can vary that a little bit. But if you're doing a newsletter, if you're doing, a whatever every Monday you're emailing out a newsletter or you're sharing a newsletter, if you're doing a blog, a vlog, a YouTube video release, you have to deliver what you promise people. Otherwise, they're going to think that you're just not
They're going
reliable,
to forget you. They're
and
going to
they're going to
forget, they're
forget
going to
you.
find
That's
someone
right.
else. They're going to think of someone else is going to come first of mind. And that's the reality of it is yeah, you're going to be forgotten if you're not consistent. And taking social media out of it. I know that this is about personal branding, and online is a huge part of everybody's business. It just has to be nowadays. But I have become accustomed to once a month, and this sounds like a really small and stupid task, but once a month, I pick 5 people that I either thought of, or maybe I saw in the grocery store, or whatever, someone that's on my contact list. I pick 5 people who I have their mailing addresses for, and I send either a hey, it was good to see you, or a thinking of you, or a hey, thank you for you made a nice comment on social media on one of my posts, and it really meant a lot to me. Thank you. And I send out 5 letters a month, and they don't have to be in depth. They really can literally just say, hey, thought of you the other day, want to send this card, whatever. But when that person is going to make a purchase, homes are a huge purchase, right? But even like right down to I want family photos, something that I offer. I think by having something that's personal, it's so small, it takes me like 10 minutes to do these 5 cards. It's super impactful, maybe more impactful than the 10 posts that I did the last 2 months on social media, because that person is going to think of me if they need something that I provide. Or they're going to, if their mom says, oh, hey, grandma's thinking about selling the house, they're going to think of you because they got something tangible. They might throw it away, but they got something tangible. The thought was there, and it's a real thing. It's not just online. Online can get so noisy, and you can just get drowned out so easily. We can't forget about the original way people used to market, is knocking on somebody's door, sending them a card, thinking of them, working your sphere of influence. I know realtors love that, love that term, but the people that you connect with most. Family, even. I mean, family buy and sell things too. And I can't tell you how many times I've had a family member, or I've heard about other agents who had a family member that didn't use them for real estate because they forgot. Oh, I forgot that you did real estate. I didn't even think of you. Why didn't they think of me? That's a question you got to ask yourself and add into your branding.
Reaching out means so much because you have to think about when somebody reaches out and they don't want anything. You know, they're not asking you for anything. It was just,
Don't scales it up. Yeah. It
yeah,
has to
just
be a
just
genuine thing.
genuine thing thinking about you, or, I saw you, I don't know, started a new class, you bought a car, something that, maybe was kind of a big deal to them on social media, but you don't just comment on social media. You reach out separately. Again, that human grassroots touch, I think is irreplaceable because some people on social media do too much.
Yes.
It's, I don't need 7 posts a day because then you start getting annoyed by it. You
Right.
do, so don't do too much. There's the sweet spot. There's just enough, but don't do too much. And the other thing that I think a lot of people do, and I don't know, I hope you don't do it, Chelsea, but the at followers. So they'll be like, so and so mentioned you in a post. And at first I'm like, oh, what did they say? I go on and look and I'm like, well, that wasn't anything
At
special about me.
all followers.
Yeah, I think that I don't think these people really realize it, but you do have to step back and say, how do I feel when, people do that with me? And I'm like, okay, I'm not going to do that because you want to be helpful, be entertaining, be, connecting, all of those things. But what you don't want to be is annoying.
Yeah. And think about that feeling you had. That feeling when you opened up your social media and you saw so and so mentioned you. It was like, what did they say? Right. And then you're like, oh, well, they're just trying to sell me a charcuterie board. But that feeling, that is across the board. People get really excited when they see that they have a message or they have something that is a notification or a comment. You get really excited. So I think, and I am so guilty of this. I'm absolutely terrible at liking and I'm okay at sharing, but liking and commenting on other people's content. I will look at something and say, that is the coolest thing ever. And then I keep going and I feel like a jerk for it, but I'm horrible at it. But I think when you go and you make a comment on there or you send somebody a private message of, hey, just saw that you had done this or thinking of you or whatever, how exciting is it when someone sends you something? It's almost like getting mail in the mailbox, back in the day and when internet wasn't a thing. So I highly recommend that. If you're more comfortable digitally, it makes a huge impact. It makes somebody smile, and it makes them think of you. And what is it costing you?
First off, I want to put out there that you do consulting as well. So if somebody's listened to this podcast and been like, "Oh my word, these ladies were all over the place and they've covered so much." If somebody really, maybe they want a few photographs or maybe they're just not even sure and they want to talk with you and consult with you, you're up for that, right?
Yes. Yep. So I do take on consulting clients for, like I've probably said 10 times, service providers, and for if you are selling something, a tangible item, products. I tailor everything to the business. I always start out with a consult, like I had mentioned, where I say, okay, tell me what you do. Don't tell me a lot about what you're doing, but tell me what you do. I go and find you. I go through, I look at everything, and I give you tips and insight on, okay, as a consumer, this is what I found. This is what I found that was great. You're doing an awesome job. And this is what was a little bit like, I probably wouldn't, if something's difficult and not easy, I'm not going to do it. And neither are your customers. So, finding those things. And then we really kind of we have brainstorming ideas. We have creative sessions on, what's your comfort level? You don't want to dance on TikTok. That's okay. We don't have to dance on TikTok, but we do a little research on your target audience. We do a little research on when it comes to personal branding. Does your website reflect what you have on social media? Does your picture on your Google business page match what you have, what you're presenting, or is it 15 years old because you set up your Google business page and you haven't been on there since you set it up? Kind of those things that get lost in the shuffle, but are really impactful, because when people are searching for you, they're going to research before they spend money. And if they find inconsistencies, or if they're not feeling like they kind of know what's going on, they're going to find somebody who does. So that's what I provide. I provide a set of eyes to look at it from the viewpoint of a consumer, and then I assist to the best of my abilities to point you in the right direction. I don't do any management of your social media. I don't take on your website. I don't do anything like that. I'm basically a consultant, and then I offer the photography as okay, so you're a real estate agent. I just did a shoot the other day with a team. These are the things we're going to do. I want your listing packet out. I want a picture of you guys looking through your listing packet. I want a picture of you on your laptop. I want a picture of you on your phone. Because really, when people see you in real life, you're usually on your phone if you're a real estate agent. So I want to see that. I want to see the real thing, because as a consumer, when I'm looking at that, that's going to give me comfort that it's not just this is me. I'm the perfect real estate agent. It's going to be I'm talking to you on the phone because something's going on. I'm on the computer because that's what I'm doing. That's my job. I am taking a picture of you walking through a front door, because guess how many front doors I open in a week when I'm showing, my 10 buyers, 42 houses. People want to see that, and that's going to create the trust, and it's going to create the intrigue of them seeing what you're doing as a provider. What do you do on a daily basis? And we can really be creative with what that is, because a lot of people don't like to show how the sausage is made. And, that's really the interesting stuff that could convert someone from, I might use this person, versus, oh my God, I love this person. This is great. I want to do this.
So you have given us so much to think about, Chelcie. If you could send everybody away with a key or a few key takeaways, what would they be?
Yeah. So key takeaways: don't try and cast too big of a net. Don't try, because you're gonna tire yourself out, and then you're just not gonna do any of the things that you should be doing. Scale down, make it manageable. Before you do any of that, sit down and take a look at your business. Whether you're a real estate agent, whether you're a numerologist, whether you're a mechanic, we talked about all those different things today. Take a minute, sit down, and say, am I happy with what I'm presenting myself as right now? What could I do to better present myself? Or where do I see my business going in the next year? Where would I love to see it go? Where would I be so happy if this happened? Sit down, think about that, write it down. Writing is really important. I feel like if you write things, they become real, whereas we think a million things a day. But if you write it down, it's on a piece of paper somewhere. You might not find it again somewhere, but write down what you want, what your goal is, and then take a few minutes to brainstorm. How do I do that? Then take a nice look at what you're doing now and how you can make small changes to present yourself in a way that gets you to a place that you'd be happy. Maybe you're super happy where you're at right now. That's fantastic. Keep doing what you're doing. But if there's even a hint of you want to make a change, start making small adjustments. Make sure you go through all of your accounts that you have set up, which is really, for real estate agents, particular hard, because we've got an account with every single everything, with our realtor, with our Zillow, with our, all of the extra things. But take a look at everything, make sure you're up to date everywhere, make sure you're presenting yourself in a way that you would hire yourself if you were looking for a professional, and try not to cast too wide of a net. Keep your target audience in mind. Try and act and present yourself like you shop. When you're looking for somebody, try and do that. Make sure you look at the other side of the coin. Yes, you're an expert in real estate. That is amazing. But think about something you're not an expert in. Think about how you would approach whatever it is you're not an expert in, that you would hire someone, and then try to apply that to your own business. And I promise you, you will see growth from it. You'll get comments about it. It will in very small amounts, sometimes big, but expect small amounts. It will help you get your business in the direction you want to head, and it's going to continue to push you forward.
Well, thank you for coming on again. I appreciate that. I think we're going to have to make this a thing, a regular thing.
Anytime. I love it. I'm so honored to be the first double dipper here.
Well, I appreciate it, and we will talk soon. Thanks, Chelcie.
Awesome. Thank you.
This has been the Maine Real Estate Roundtable podcast with Bobbie Grenier. I hope you enjoyed today's discussion and will share this episode with a friend. And don't forget to leave a review and follow the podcast so you don't miss new episodes. The content of this podcast is for informational purposes and not intended as legal advice or representation by myself or any of the guests on the podcast. Thanks for listening, and until next time, keep it real.